Today we're going to be doing, well, it's not quite an inordinate amount of work, but it is a fair amount. I've been putting this off for a while because it involves rolling around the floor. Anyways, my 2021 F3 that I'm currently sitting in, I need to replace the tires on it. And I have a new set of tires, drive tires and casters, but they're on different chairs. Let me show you. These are my current drive tires. They're not completely worn out yet, but I like to swap them out while they still have a little bit of life left in them. That way we can use them for other chairs or different projects. And as it turns out, last year, a couple of years ago, I can't remember exactly when it was, we put some Permobil aggressive tread tires on this Quantum Stretto for some reason. And, well, they're brand new and they don't need to be on there. And I also have what was basically brand new tires already on the Stretto from Quantum. So we are going to swap these back onto here, which will free up those tires to go on here. Then we have Utility Chair 2.0. This one has the Michelin, whatever, scooter tires on the front. That was a pain. Those are not coming off, those are staying there. But we have another brand new set of aggressive tread casters on that chair. So we're gonna take those off and swap them for these ones, which you can't really see right now. Let's see here. There we go. I think you can see the wear on those. Now, the aggressive tread casters actually don't have a lot of tread on them to begin with, and I found they usually typically last for 2 sets of drive tires before they start getting bald. But this being the chair that I use in the gravel, and basically anytime I need to go out to the bus to do anything, we don't need the brand new tires on there. I just happen to have those and these, and we use them for other stuff. So I'm going to grab the mini aluminum jack. I'm going to try and gather all my tools, and we're gonna do a bunch of tire swapping. I think we're gonna start with the casters first because those are easier and it'll only take a few minutes. And I think I'll only have to get on the floor once for that. So let me gather some stuff and I'll be right back. I built this thing not too long ago. It's sort of a, I don't know, a stack of blocks put together. And the idea was I could jack up a chair and jam this underneath it and hold it off the ground, because we're gonna need the back of that chair and the one I'm sitting in off the ground at the same time. When I was building this, I made it a little bit too wide. I really probably need to cut this thing down the middle, and then it would probably be a more appropriate size, but yeah, it's not really gonna fit in there. Not really sure the best way to do this. I'm gonna try, yeah, we're kind of picking this up here from the side. Okay, then yeah, I think that might work. You just have to be careful in these C300s because this plastic cover back here, you don't want to lift on that, but let's see if this will hold it. Yeah, it seems to be working. Let's see if we can kind of shove this whole thing over here a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. That'll work nicely. Perfect. All right, this thing is now off the ground. These just have a single nylock and then a long Allen cap bolt that goes through. So now all I have to do is get this thing pulled over here next to me. We can throw the jack under the back of that. And let's see, anytime I'm doing this, I try to make sure I have a backup chair in case something goes wrong and I have to move. So I think that will be the Stretto. Yeah, that'll be our backup chair in case I need to do something. Yeah, let's get this other chair over here. Come here, chair. Actually, let's turn this off. We'll throw it in neutral. And I can, there we go. I can position it where I need it. There we go. And get our jack over here. All right. Not lifting it up very far. We don't need a whole lot of clearance. And, we may inspect the anti-flutter clutches, but this side is definitely a lot harder to turn than this side. Wouldn't surprise me if the stupid spring washers have exploded in there again, but anyways, I think we should be good to start pulling some things apart. All right, got the Stretto right here. I think I'm going to use the foot plates as a camera mount. Okay, I think, yeah, most of that seems to be in frame. So, we've got our little Husky toolkit here. There we go, 13 millimeter. And over here, that is a 5 millimeter. So changing these out are pretty easy. You just hold this here, unscrew the nylock, and the whole thing should just come right off. There we go. Super long bolt, one fairly thick fender washer, and our nylock. And there we go. Whole assembly. Oh, and this stays with the chair. So, one removed. Now for the other side. Yeah, that was easy. Like to check the bearings for hair and stuff like that because it always builds up in these bearings. Just a little bit here. Oh, yeah, you can see that. It's actually a fairly decent amount. And now we can turn our efforts over to the F3. And similar concept here. There's a little cap that has to be removed, which has a slot you can fit a screwdriver into. Oh, this one has Allen cap bolts in there. Appears to be a 6 millimeter. Are they both going to be 6 millimeter? I don't have two 6, so let's try a 7/16. Too small. Huh. I don't have another one of these within reach. Let's just try. Oh, it's actually turning just fine. Same arrangement here, bolt, giant fender washer. Should slide off of here. There we are. Oh, that's right. On the F3s, this, I believe, is either threaded or pressed into place. So you actually don't need, yeah, you don't need a wrench to hold that, so that's cool. Do have to, well, I'll worry about cleaning those in a minute. I just want to get these new tires on here. Oh, and just for reference, I think you can see here, on camera it's not going to be super obvious. These do have more wear, but these are basically brand new. And you can see there isn't really a whole lot of tread to speak of on these. But anyways, clean some of the schmoo off of here that inevitably always builds up. Oh yeah, look at that. And I'm not going to lie, I thought that these fenders would basically immediately break off after I got this chair. And my thought was, I'm just going to leave these alone until they uninstall themselves. And here we are, like, what, 4.5 years later? They're still attached. As you can see, these have hit a lot of stuff, as have these. This is from when I was living in the bus. Not a lot of space in there, but somehow these have stayed attached, which is shocking. It is nice to have them, though. When you're running around in the rain, it keeps water from spraying up, so what's the line? I'm not even mad. I'll get the new one on here. And these did have a little bit of factory Loctite on them. Looks like there's still enough, so we'll just leave that alone and put it back in. That seems to be torqued to spec. Actually, I'm going to leave this off till I get the chair back on the floor, and then I'm going to tighten that up a little bit more. Oh, that was actually pretty dang easy. Let's do the other side. Quite a bit of hair on this one. Again, I'll clean that up when we put it back on the other chair. Yeah, that hair will get down into your bearings, and if you hear like clicking noises and stuff, that's probably what it is. I found most of the time the actual roll or travel bearings on these don't necessarily go bad on the casters themselves. These ones here, it's typically just some garbage that has gotten in there and it starts making noise. Sure, this is a new one. Yes. Let's drop this back down. Then we're gonna make sure these are good and tight. That feels solid. Back on with the butt cap. That feels good. We'll give these a little bit of a clean just because we're already down here on the floor. Probably should have done that before I put them on here, but whatever. And there we go. Bob is your sister's brother. Back to the C300. Let's get the filth pulled out of these bearings. Yeah, and these are more or less on the C300, just a tapered head Allen cap bolt, or pan head, or whatever you call that. Those slide in. That goes over the top. Ooh, that one has a lot of stuff in it. It gets down inside that rubber shield and gets into the actual rollers on the bearing and starts making noise. If it gets bad enough, it can actually pop the rubber shields off. And if you ever go to a birthday party where they have confetti or streamers and you run around through that, that can actually cause some damage. And back on it goes. And you just tighten those down good and snug. Make sure your wheel still spins, and you're fine there. That little bushing spacer thing in there is actually what sets the tension. So you can tighten this down most of the way, and as long as it still spins, you're fine. All right, let's check our bearings. Let's see if I can get this other one done in the time that it takes for that one to stop spinning. And time. All right. I didn't bother putting the caps on these for two reasons. One, it's the utility chair, and two, the caps wouldn't go on because these bolts stick out too far. And, well, three, I don't really care. It's a utility chair. This is the one that I, when I go flying on airplanes, this is the one that I set up for air travel, and link to a video up here and also down in the description for when we modified this chair for air travel. There is one thing I'd probably change, and that's what looks like these door handles right here, but those didn't wind up being a problem. It's best not to have anything that looks like a lift point, but I do have labels everywhere. But anyways, this thing survived flying a few times and didn't have an issue. All right, I'm going to get back up off the floor. We will put this chair away because we're done with that, and well, I'm probably gonna take a break, but then we will work on swapping these onto here, which is going to take a little more work. So anyways, I'll be back here in a minute. Let's see, gotta move some stuff. Let's get this back over here. Turn on the brakes. Oh wait, make sure I can reach the joystick, then turn on the brakes, then power it on. And carefully, without hitting the light, there we are. Yep, or knocking that off the jack. Okay, now I can get back into this. One of the other reasons I want to get this tire swap done is I want to get this chair out of here and take it back over to the shop, because we're in the summer months and I keep running around in trails and stuff, and I need the Frontier V6 over here. But between all of these chairs, this one is too many to have in here. Actually, I'm probably going to try to take this one and maybe the old bounder back over to the shop. That's going to require 2 trips though, which is really annoying and involves hours of driving. But regardless, I need to get this thing taken care of, take it back, and then we can bring the Frontier V6 out here because I haven't used that since last year. Actually, I think it's been 2 years now. But the only reason I brought this one out here is we were playing around on that one live stream with QLogic 3, and then also playing around with swapping QLogic 3 joysticks. So nice to have this thing around for that, but it served its purpose and it can go back to the shop now. Oh look, it's a Stretto. This thing does have a seat lift, so I raised that up just a tiny bit. That way the foot plates can clear the jack and all that stuff. There we go. We did break a wheel stud on this thing a while back. I have not fixed that. I also don't really use this chair very much, but we're gonna pull off the lug nut spikes, which came from White Raven. Kind of give the chair a little bit of a customized look. So we can do this without scratching them up. And ta-da, we have a wheel and a tire. So the video I made a while back putting these aggressive tread tires on this Quantum Edge 3 Stretto, turns out these may not be the best option. I've spoken to a couple other people that have attempted this, and what happens is because the interior foam is a little bit different, the wheels end up turning inside the tires and they don't engage very well. On this particular chair, it seemed to work okay, but like I'd mentioned in that original video, and I'm trying to reach this tire, but like I'd mentioned in the original video, this foam kind of integrates with the wheel, and I believe, I don't know if it's the difference with the bead and the clamping force or this foam helping, but foam that looks like this works best with these tires. In this case, it actually worked. Again, I haven't really used this chair very much, so there is a good chance that if I did put some miles on this, this wheel might have started slipping inside here. But regardless, we need to take this apart and get the regular tires back on. We're going to use this here storage bin lid to prevent scratching up the front of this very much, hopefully. And of course, these don't quite fit. We've had these apart recently though. Let's see, these are standard. We probably need metric, but I'm going to try this with the impact and see what we get. I don't recommend doing this because if those haven't come off before, it's real easy to screw up the bolts and the threads and everything, and you don't really want to do that because then you can't get this apart anymore. But let's see what happens here. Ah, we got lucky. Excellent. I'm going to take these apart in sort of a crisscross fashion. And this should lift right out. There we go. Yeah, here you can see the difference that I was talking about. The foam in here is smooth, whereas in here, it's not. And if we look more closely at this wheel, you can see we have all these little indentations here that line up with the foam. So that makes sure that these two halves can't spin independently from each other. Now again, obviously if you're dealing with air-filled tires, you want to make sure you let the air out of the tires before you split these two halves. Otherwise, not going to have a very good time. Actually, I need to flip this thing over. Can stick this back down on here. And I think we should be able to maybe start these by hand. Let me set the camera down. I like using this extension that has a lock on it and it's knurled. It makes kind of a good handle for this stuff, but let's see if we can pull this up. Kind of start a couple of threads here by hand. There we go. Looks like we got two of them. Yeah, you can see that this particular tire is better suited for these wheels because these actually have some clamping force that hold this wheel together, whereas this one, it was kind of a loose fit. Oh, I screwed that up. I don't know if there's pins or not, but the valve stem cutout's right here, and it's actually over here on the other side. I didn't see that, so I gotta take this all back off and fix that real quick. All right, let's get this orientated properly. Oh yeah, there are little dowel pins. And also this foam, looks like it can get caught between the two halves, so got a couple of things working against us here. But now that the lower side is kind of pulled back up in there, we should be able to start these by hand, no problem. Yeah, there we go. There we go, now all of our locating pins are actually seating the way they're supposed to. Alright, that'll do. Now we can stick our wheel back on. I still have that broken stud, but whatever. And the funny thing is, I wasn't even using power tools when that broke. I just touched it by hand, and it just snapped off. All right, obviously you'll want to torque that to spec, and we'll put our little lug nut spikes back on here. And there we go, we're back to a stock Strato tire. And now we have this thing, which will very aptly fit on this here chair in a little while. We'll just put this over here. There we go. And now we do the same thing on this side. You know, sometimes when you're recording stuff and you hit record, but then you don't think you hit record, and then from that point forward, you stop the camera when you want to start it, and vice versa. Well, anyways, tire's back on now. We didn't record most of that, but anyways, this is done. I was just realizing something. Strato's all complete, but we have to do the same thing again to this chair. And I'm kind of tired now after doing all this, so I think I'm gonna clear a path over to the kitchen, pick up some of this stuff, and then we're gonna attack this later on. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a lot of work. I was hoping to get it all done in one shot, but anyways, at least this thing's finished. We can shove that thing over there. This thing's done. We can push that back over there, get some floor space back, and then I think it's time to make some coffee maybe, and then watch some YouTube for a bit. Then we'll come back. Oh look, it's an F3 that happens to have F5 motors on it. Anyways, we have filmed this thing of swapping tires on this chair I don't know how many thousands of times. So I think I'm just going to make some crunching noises. I think I'm just going to set up the camera and I'm going to do this. We've got our replacement tires right here, and I think I'm going to put, yeah, the little logo that says non-marking. We're going to put that on the inside and we'll just get to work. Do I need to trim this foam? These ones almost look a little bit overfilled. It sure is not letting me drop this in here. Can we? There we go, I think. I guess I probably don't want to scratch this up. We'll put down this thing. I always do the final torque by hand, just because quarter drive impacts are not nearly as strong as you think they are. And you also can't feel how much torque you're getting. So anyways, get these back on. There's still enough Loctite left on these to be okay. All right, there we go. This side is done. I had to flip it around and do it all over again. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought. Still a lot of work, but I think we'll be off the floor here in about 5 minutes. I just realized I did something stupid. I do not have a backup chair anywhere near me, and we stripped out this bolt head. I don't really want to leave that out, but I also don't want to put this back in and have future me have it be impossible to remove. But on the other hand, an easy out would fit in there pretty well. Well, dang it. All the bolts are in that front room inside the closet. Do I have any? I don't have any others in here. Well, I guess we're just putting this one back in. That sucks, but that's a problem for future me in like 850 miles. All right, well, that'll have to do. And I think that's good. Yeah. You may have noticed I still don't have hubcaps on this. I had another set of wheels that someone gave me that were nice and carbon fiber wrapped, but those got messed up when this thing was in a trailer and we were going down to play soccer in Arizona, and the straps came loose and the thing was banging around inside the trailer. I was gonna redo those at some point. I really don't like the plastic hubcaps that came on this, so I was thinking maybe I'd paint this with a Sharpie, but I don't know. I'm just probably gonna leave it. It's been that way already for over a year now, so whatever. Here's a little comparison between the two. Still perfectly serviceable, but yeah, you can see the profile on this has gotten pretty flat, and these are pretty domed. But yeah, I'm still amazed how long these tires last for being, you know, softer and more grippy rubber and all that. But I suppose it makes sense because the contact patch is a little bit wider when the tires flare out. So you don't just wear in the center like you do on the Primo Power Tracks. But anyways, I'm gonna hop back in the chair, clean up all this crap. Yeah, something. I just noticed something about these tires. I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up, but they have a pretty significant flat spots on them. Honestly, that makes sense if you think about it. These were sitting on the Stretto for over a year, and the thing has moved maybe 5 times in that amount of time. It is about 98 degrees outside though, so the pavement's nice and warm. I think what I might do is do a little bit of running around out there, and I think the heat and using them should take care of that, you know, pretty easily. Honestly, I probably don't have to go outside and do anything. Just running around for a couple of days, the flat spots should just kind of round back out or whatever. I'm having trouble making words. Well, actually, now that I think about it, it makes sense because the inside of those wheels on that Quantum don't have flat surfaces. So because those were sitting in there with weight on them, it made the foam kind of expand into a weird shape. All right, so that makes sense. That's why it was a little harder to get them installed. But anyhow, I'm sure by later today or tomorrow it should be fine. But I don't know. I'll probably go somewhere and get a little bit of heat into these things regardless. Fast forward to the next day. The flat spots on the tires are pretty much gone. I did do a little bit of running around outside, but yeah, I figured it wouldn't be... I'm on hold. My call is very important to them. Anyways, there you go. This is just a project I needed to work on, and I figured I would record it because that's kind of what I do. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow on the live stream. Thanks for watching.
We are currently experiencing high call volumes. However, your call is very important.
This thing would go into thermal lockout instantly.